Welcome back to tristatefootball.com for this week's edition of Crossing the Goal Line. Greg Shoemaker and myself, Brandon Saho, here as always. And this week we're talking playoff fun facts starting in Division II with the Southwest Ohio Conference, who represent their conference very well this postseason, don't they, Greg?
Yeah, for their first year, they got 3 teams into the playoffs. And, let's just take a look. We'll start from top to bottom, and we'll go with one of those matchups right away, Brandon. Edgewood is going to play Winton Woods. This is Edgewood's 11th trip to the postseason, first since 2008. And then they're playing Winton Woods, who won the state championship back in 2009. This is the 6th time in the last 7 years that the Warriors have been to the postseason. And the cool thing about that is both of these teams have winning records in the playoffs, which is very rare. To get to the playoffs is one thing, but to have 19 appearances between the two schools and a winning record, it's sort of the symmetry that we're seeing in Region 8, Division II with this group of teams. And I can go to a second game. The number 1 seed overall, Turpin, is playing Tippecanoe. Those two teams played last year in the first round at Tippecanoe, and the Spartans won 24-21. For both of these teams, it's their 7th straight appearance in the postseason. Very, very cool. Moving on, Northwest is making their first appearance since 1990 and only their 2nd appearance in the playoffs in their school history. So that's a good thing for them. They're playing Franklin. Franklin's in their 8th overall appearance as well, and their 2nd straight year of hosting a playoff game. The Wildcats are one of those teams that are still looking for a bit of to get out of the first round in the postseason. Let's say that. So Franklin's 9-1. Again, 8 appearances for them. 2nd straight year they get to host a playoff. So the final game in Division II that we need to look at in Region 8 is Trotwood Madison hosting Mount Healthy. Both of these teams are making their 8th overall appearance in the playoffs. The last 2 Region 8 championships have come from Trotwood Madison. The Rams won the state championship last year and finished runners-up in the state in 2010, the year after Winton Woods won their state title. So when we look at Division II, a lot of teams who've been there before, done that, a lot of pedigree there. We really like this to stack up as a really intense weekend of football in November. Brandon, when we look at Division I, Region 4, the 8 teams that made it, 3 are from the GCL South, 3 are from the GMC, and 2 from the GWOC. What can you tell us about those GCL South teams?
Yeah, Moeller, St. Xavier, and Elder, all have been there before, all have won state championships, and they're poised, they're ready to go into this, representing 3 of the 4 teams in the GCL South. As just, 3 teams from your conference out of the 8 in Region 4, one of the toughest regions in the state here in Division I. It's for the Moeller Crusaders, it's their 11th consecutive playoff appearance. The Crusaders, along with their GCL South foes, St. X and Elder, have combined for a total 96 postseason wins. That's an incredible number, and the Bombers will be in the playoffs for the 13th time in the past 15 years. So really, GCL South showing why they are one of the most competitive and toughest conferences, not only in Ohio or the Midwest, but in the country when it comes to high school football. And when you look at those matchups, you said there's some GMC schools. Well, Moeller plays Wayne, not a GMC school. But then the 2 other schools, Greg, play those GMC opponents. St. Xavier goes to Colerain, and Elder hosts Sycamore. And I know you want to talk about those GMC opponents that the GCL schools have to face.
Yeah, we'll talk about that GMC matchup with Sycamore and Elder first. And this is Sycamore's 5th overall appearance in the postseason. This is the 3rd straight time since 2007 they open up with a GCL South foe. Sort of ironic, as head coach for the Sycamore, Scott DiTillo, is an Elder graduate. So that's one of the fun facts that you got to look at. And one of my favorite fun facts that we're talking about today is, Brandon, 5 teams in these Region 8 playoffs have combined to win the last 20 regional championships: Moeller, Elder, St. Xavier, Wayne, and the Colerain Cardinals. The Colerain Cardinals are making their 12th trip in the last 13 seasons to the postseason. And get this, Brandon, Colerain, in 14 overall appearances in the postseason, has only lost in the first round 1 time. That's a pretty amazing statistic. And the other GMC team, Lakota East, is making their first playoff appearance ever. The final GMC team to make the postseason. Everybody else in that conference has been there before. In fact, if you think about it, Fairfield won a state championship back in the 90s with Ben Hubbard. So some cool things there with those guys. Springboro, don't want to leave them off the list. They've got a great matchup in the first round, and this is only their third time in the postseason, and first since 2005. They went back-to-back years, 2004, 2005. The Panthers are really looking special, and I tell you, I like their matchup, and I think they're a very scary team come as this playoffs moves forward.
And another team we didn't talk about is Springboro, 10-0, sitting up there with the number 2 seed in Region 4. So great stuff to look forward to from the GMC, GCL. Really tough conferences, 3 teams from each. And then you also have Springboro, and who you just
Wayne also. We didn't talk about Wayne. This is Wayne's 6th appearance in the last 7 seasons as well. They will head to Moeller and play at Moeller, and they usually seem to get a GCL South team in the first round of the playoffs. But 2 years ago, they were a number 8 seed and beat number 1 seed Middletown on their way to the state runner-up in Division I with Braxton Miller as their quarterback, who's now at Ohio State starting.
Right, so good football here in the Tri-State. Don't forget to check out tristatefootball.com. Follow us on Twitter at TS Football. Like us on Facebook for all your playoff high school football needs.